Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, weekly Wigzes. Don't know why I called you that. Never called you that before. My Yap City residents. Hello, this is just Megan Wigz checking in just at the start of this episode before we get into the full ep. Just a little disclaimer, we are in for a 2-part extravaganza with my guest today, Josie. Just needed to put like a few explainers and like bookends between the episodes just in case you were a little bit confused. I never really plan these 2-parters, but then tends to be that when I have a guest on that's generally my friend, or even a non-friend, as we all know by now, we like to yap in Yap City. So I end up just going on for like 2 hours, which is just a little bit too long for a normal episode. So we're splitting it in two again. You're getting double the dosage, which I always think is a positive. I went from a little adventure over in Barcelona to visit my friend where she lives. I didn't have all my normal equipment with me, but we did just do it on the laptop, on the MacBook. So I've done a bit of audio editing, so forgive me if it's a little bit not as normal. But yeah, without further ado, let's swing right in to the app. Are you ready?
Oh, God.
The Weekly Wigz.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you feel awkward now that it's like we're on camera?
Yeah.
I can feel your nerves.
You know I'm an awkward person.
You're not, though. You're actually not. And do you know what? This is going to be the intro, so...
Oh, gosh. Well, hello.
Everyone, welcome to the Weekly Wigz. Josie!
Good morning. Good afternoon.
I've never in my life seen you this awkward. She's never like this.
I'm awkward.
Well, welcome back, gang, to the Weekly Wigz on tour in Barcelona.
She's here.
Today, I've got my fun guest on the pod. Miss Bestie, Josie, has arrived. So how do you feel? Say hello to the gang, to the Yap City gang.
I feel happy that you're in Barcelona, actually.
Oh, that's
what
sweet.
I feel happy about.
I feel that too. How do you feel about being on the Weekly Wigz?
Well, it's been much anticipated.
It has. It has.
So I'm glad. I want to be part of it because it's a big thing in your world, and you're a big thing in my world.
Oh, look how cute she's got. We've just been crying all morning to bloody Justin Bieber on Coachella. I've been sobbing in your lounge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting like hashtag deep in here.
Yeah.
But it's lovely to have you on. We have been trying to plan this for a hot minute and just schedules haven't worked out. But
yeah,
I came for a cute little visit anyway. And I thought, I'm going to force you. I'm going to force your hand and make you come on my pod. So
I do think that it's a good timing because we tried to do it, well, a couple of times. My life said no because
life.
Schedule is scheduling. Mm-hmm. And it's actually nice to do it in person.
It is.
Isn't it?
It's so much nicer actually having a guest in person because even though it's nice to be able to get like remote guests, it's just it's more of a natural flow of conversation, isn't it? I guess anyone can relate to that, like when you're in a workplace and you're just constantly seeing each other in a box, but then the energy you feel in person is way better. So thank you for joining my pod. I'm very happy to have you here. I guess we should tell the people a little bit about you and how we met.
Yeah,
let's do a little background check. So I always let my guests take this story away and then chime in, so feel free to tell the gang about you and this life.
Oh, me. Oh, gosh.
Come on.
About me and you? Or
yeah, all of it. All of it.
Okay, I think I can talk about me and you as a... So,
me and you... No, sorry.
I don't actually... We always struggle to remember what year this was. So, if you remember the year, help me out.
It was 2015 or 16. I think it was 2015, actually. Yeah.
Because last year we were talking about it being 10 years.
Yes.
And it was September. And
that's a good memory, remembering the month.
Well, I know it's because when I started my job.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we started working together in, can I say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Call centre life.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, God. We've been through some jobs.
Yeah. And it was a Disney contract. So we basically were working in a Disney call center, which was horrific. And
like fats. Do you know what though? I do take some fond memories from there, but anyway, let me not hijack your story. Go on.
You can.
No, go on.
So yeah, we started working in Disney. I joined, I can't remember.
A little after me. I think I'd been there like 2 or 3 months before you because we were all relatively new. It was a brand new, like contract, and it was this whole thing because they were launching what, funnily enough, is now known as Disney Plus. But Disney Plus didn't exist back then, and they essentially trialed it in the UK.
Yeah.
And they called it Disney Life, which is no longer a thing. So
it wasn't just in the UK, remember? It was, they had it across like various countries in Europe, but it wasn't all of them. And I remember, I only remember because we had like certain support in certain countries. I can't remember if there was like different language support, whatever, but I do remember there was different countries, like I think Spain, the Netherlands.
Oh, okay. It was
something
like Europe
that.
and the UK. They didn't like go to America though. It was just like it wasn't an American thing back then.
And it was shocking. So it was
it was
right?
terrible. It was like on an iPad as well, wasn't it?
We used to have iPads, all different like Apple and Android devices, because basically our call center was like the customer support.
Yeah.
For the app, which was called Disney
Live.
Live.
A shit app.
Yeah.
It broke all the time.
It was shit. And like we used to have like chat support, phone support. So it was all inbound. And some of the chats that used to come through were like kids. And it was, and we had to be trained on like how to respond and how to deal with like all different chat scenarios, which was weird. And you were RTA.
RTA, what a fun title. Yeah, well, funny enough, so I was there a few months before you, went through like this training period where they're teaching us all about the Disney product or whatever. And then before we even went into a live environment of taking calls as such, because it wasn't like a live product yet, was it? I then got promoted to medicine, what can I say? To a job called a real-time analyst, which is really boring, and I won't go into the whole thing, but I was essentially the person like monitoring you lot, like monitoring the staff, and you basically had to check that like we've got enough availability, there's enough agents to take calls, and the long and short was to make sure that you weren't all skiving. And I remember my first introduction to you. This kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
My initial like impression and introduction to you was me in my little corner, because I was always in a corner, wasn't I, away from all you lot.
Yeah.
And I'm checking who's online, and it's coming to the end of the day, and quite a few people, don't blame them, would like skive offline early. But I had to be the responsible one and be like, guys, can you go back online, please? Like, you haven't finished your shift yet.
Yeah, you were the police.
I had to be. I didn't want to be, but it's like I had a boss too, and he was going to tell me off if I didn't tell you off. So you were giving me probably the eyes, thinking, oh, I want to go home. No, and I was like, Josie, can you just get back online, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I can't remember that interaction, but I remember that, like, I remember you.
I do. You and your friend Lucy always used to Skype right at the end of the day, and you were like my target. So I was like, they're going to go offline again. I know it. And I had to be like, girls, do you mind going back online, please?
Do you know what? Call centre life, like, luckily I wasn't just an agent for much longer. I can't remember how long, but I know I was.
You progressed quite quickly.
I was into team manager, which thank God meant that I didn't have to do the live like calls and chats.
I felt that way when I got promoted.
Yeah, it's actually a rough job.
It is.
Like, you don't like. I remember the chats. You had to have like 3 or 4 chats open at the same time. So you're speaking to like. You're basically servicing at least 3 customers at the same time. That's to be on the chat mode. Can't remember if we used to do chat and phone at the same time. Anyway, that's where we met. And also Disney was like, for me, I didn't grow up with like a Disney childhood or like knowing really any Disney, which is really sad. Me and my sister often say that it's like, that's quite sad. Anyway, but I learned a lot about like, Disney movies, and because we used to have Disney movies playing, and obviously we had a lot of like team building stuff, which was basically singing Disney songs. It
was truly, I look back in terms of like an onboarding experience for a company, it was truly the greatest time ever, because the training was like classroom training, and we had a great trainer, didn't we, Kim? Shout out Kim if you're ever listening. We love Kim. She was just great, and like we just played games, and you used to spend your time watching Disney movies like in the call center, because we were waiting for this product to go live. There wasn't that much to do other than like just twiddling your thumbs, but it was great. We were like playing games in the corridor. It was just like a fun little kind of like family environment for a little while there, and then obviously it all went to shit a little bit.
There was also a lot of drama.
There
was.
Because
there was people all like in relationships with each other.
Very incestual.
Like and like friend dramas, because the age we were like, how old? Like early 20s.
21 maybe,
22.
something like that.
10,
Yeah.
11 years. Yeah. So
God.
everyone was like around 20 or like early 20s or whatever. And so
Quite a
there's
high
lot of
turnover as well, isn't there, in call centres?
Yeah.
A lot of people get fired for understandable reasons sometimes,
Yeah.
but there's so many characters in call centres, and I feel like those are the people that you meet at that moment in your life. Oh, here's a little shout out to Houdini, by the way, who you'll see pop up in the background, Josie's dog.
He's avoided.
He'll just pop his head in every now and then. And I think there's something about like that weird bond you have at that age with just, you're just in each other's space a lot, aren't you? Like all the time.
Yeah.
And these, the call centre days, we're in an office 5 days a week. Like some of the shifts are quite long as well. Hello, Houdini.
He wants to come up, so yeah.
I do remember us kind of bonding in that Disney call centre though, when I was little RTA, and after me obviously telling you off a few times, there was like a little bit of a friendship there then, because I remember you used to come into my corner and have little chats and probably asking me questions about annual leave and stuff, but we just started chit-chatting from there.
Yeah.
And then I guess as with call centres, it's quite like a social life outside of it, isn't it? Like, because we're all young and people are going out and about. My memory of like our proper first bonded moment, obviously we were drunk, and I can remember stumbling across you in good old Cardiff city centre on a night out. I'm sure you love this story.
Yeah.
It's actually not embarrassing, to be fair. This is one of my favourite. It's quite cute though. It's kind of like a Cinderella shoe moment. So I was walking down the famous St Mary Street in Cardiff, which if you don't know is like the street full of the bars and stuff. And this was coming towards the end of the night, and you were very drunk and you were on your own, and I was like, oh, it's Josie from work, because I think I was with someone else. And you looked a bit lost and confused.
I probably was.
Yeah.
Even though I would have known where I was.
Yeah.
I was obviously drunk. And if I'm near Chippy Lane,
Chippy Lane, the iconic Chippy Lane. Anyway, long story short, you had lost your card, and I think you'd lost your mates. And I, being the helping darling I am, was like, let me help you out, Gil. Because I didn't know you that well then, but like I knew you because you were from work and we were like had chats and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it just turned in this funny little like 10-minute adventure where I came with you to try and find your card, which you thought you left in Dorothy's chippy.
I remember that.
Which you didn't.
I went in there looking for it.
You went looking for it, and as you were trotting down Chippy Lane, your shoe and your heel got stuck in a tile. And it just came off, and you just continued walking. And I was like, Josie, your shoe is in the tile. I just thought that was a funny moment. And then I took you home in a taxi because you were a little bit drunk, and I thought we need to get this girl home. And I think we just ended up having the biggest heart-to-heart in our lives. We're sobbing tears at like 4 a.m. Yeah. And then it was kind of like history from then, wasn't it?
That's yeah, and I think that start is quite
intense,
representative of like not necessarily the chaos,
yeah,
but like the emotional bond is sort of like representative of our friendship, isn't it? We were talking about this yesterday, like some of the things that we have in common. And we were saying that one of the main things, if not the main thing, what did we say? Emotional depth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we recognise that in each other.
We're just emotional girlies.
Yeah, we are.
We are. I'm a Cancer. You're a Leo.
Yeah.
You're a Fire. I don't know. We're just...
It's a lot going on.
We're hormonal women too. I mean, add into that. But
yeah,
I think something like that, and there is something about like drunken nights when everything just goes crazy. It's almost like a trauma bond, but like it's cute though. And I guess because then obviously we went on to work with each other for a few more years after that. We basically ended up working together in like 3 jobs, didn't we?
Yeah, there was one in Disney, then the next job we had another
an airline
in the same like office, but a different, let's say, company that we were working with.
Yeah.
Similar type of role. Like
you were my manager. That's the first time you became my manager, which was quite funny.
Which is bananas. Like
that is kind of weird looking back now that we're friends. I don't know how it is a tricky line when you're friends and do you know what I mean? It's like that can come between people sometimes.
I actually think that we did quite well. Like, and I think it is hard because we were already friends when I became your manager, and we were already quite good friends at that point. But I think that like because we are able to communicate, like we have quite a good communication between us. Like over the years when we've needed to like okay, let's like talk
Yeah.
something out. We can like get to the bottom of something and like just understand each other. So I think that's quite key. I think if you've got one person in the duo that maybe can't communicate and like can't be open and honest, then those sort of relationships can be hard. But we did do it quite well. So it was in the first place I was your manager, and then I moved to a new company, and
As
then
did
I was like, yeah. Oh, you went somewhere else.
We all had a moment where we were done with call centers. We were like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
You left me, and I was devastated. I was like, she's left me behind at the call center. I can't stay here much longer. You went on to a new company. I did as well, and then I was having a mare in the other company, and then what brought us together again was Mr. Robbie Williams. Oh, one of our fondest memes. Continue the story.
Yeah, so we were at work, right? And we were at work, and wait, were you working?
I was working. No, I was working on a temporary contract for this company, which I was not having a fun time.
In my mind, I thought you were already there when we went to Robbie Williams, but it wasn't.
No.
Okay, so I went to work one day, and this company, which, I mean, they were rubbish for everything else, but they did bring one great thing, which was one day, one of my colleagues was like, oh, I've got some spare tickets for Robbie Williams in the Millennium Stadium or Principality Stadium. And I was like, I'll take them. I'll go in. So I called you or text you.
I remember it so clearly. I was in that office I was in, just hating life. I had like no work to do. And I think I probably had already been speaking to you about how I'm so bored of this job, blah, blah, blah. And then you reach out and you're like, girl, I got some tickets. Do you want to come tonight? And in my mind, I'm thinking, yes, get me out of this hellhole.
We had the time of our life that night.
It was great.
Do you know, of all the I haven't been to tens and tens and tens of like gigs, but I've been to enough and quite a good like variation.
Yeah.
And I often say that was possibly my number one.
I actually, little plug, go back quite a few episodes. I did an episode early on in this pod where I listed like my top 10 best concerts, and I put Robbie in there.
Top 10?
I think, top 10.
Why is he not top 3?
Well, if you go back and listen, you'll find out. But he was in my top rated though, which I think, is pretty good.
Yeah. No, I think he brought his dad out.
He did.
And I just remember having the time of my life.
But you know what I liked about that concert is I had no expectations because as much as, you know a lot of Robbie songs, but I've never exactly been like an avid follower of his. And I just was like, I'm just going to go for the vibes. It was a free ticket. I was like, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of surpassed my expectations. And I was like, he was just a good performer, wasn't he? Like, he was a good showman, I thought.
Yeah. And do you know what? Well, it's quite fitting for something we've just been watching. But I remember at the time, I knew about like Robbie Williams had been through like most famous artists who get that successful. He'd been through some rough times. I think he's been through like addiction or I don't know, some rough moments in his life. And I think that might have been around the time where he was coming out the other side. And I think that's one of the reasons that I was like, oh, go on. Yeah. Like when you're sort of like, you're proud of someone even though you don't know them.
No, it is.
We're emotional. I was probably crying about it. Like, because his music is like, is good music. And I like lyrics. His lyrics are great. And it's true, like being an empath, I think when you see someone like come in and like doing well, I was just living for it.
He was doing his thing. It was. And maybe I'll insert a video here or I'll cut it here. But there is a video of me and you like just like waving our hands, like just having a moment. I was like, oh, that's really cute. But yeah, I think probably just in those years following, there was like a weird full circle moment where I then came back to work with you again because I was hating life in that job and you were like, girl, there's some positions in my place. And then you helped a gal out and gave me all the tips and tricks for the interview there.
Yeah,
and
but you would have done it anyway. Like, you were good at work. You're generally a good worker.
I am. I don't want to toot my own horn. Thank you.
No, you are. So, like, I don't think you needed my help. I'd probably give you some, like, guidance, but you would have been fine without me, so.
And then you were my manager again. And then bon voyage, the rest was history. And that was the last time we worked together, because obviously this is a pivotal point then in your story, which actually kind of leads us on to today's main topic, is you left dear old Wales, because we were both living in Cardiff. And you've obviously grown up in Cardiff all your life, haven't you? So you, around about this time when you left that job, were coming over to sunny Spain, to Barcelona.
Yeah.
So do you want to like tell the gang a little bit about what inspired that journey? Like, because this is kind of what I want to get into today, is about like people who may be able to relate to moving away from home for the first time, even if it's not on a plane across the other side of the world, even if it's just up the road. Or for me, like I've been telling the pod for a while, I moved from Wales to Manchester, and I think there's a lot of people that can probably relate to that story and the challenges and the rewards that come with it. So
Yeah.
do you want to give a little background of what sort of inspired your move to Barcelona?
Yeah, sure. So this is quite a soppy story, like most things in my life. So my sister, shout out my sister, the love
Shout
of my
out. We love.
she's truly the absolute love of my life. Best person I've ever met in my life. So my sister was living in Barcelona already I think she was here for 3 years before me. And so I used to come to Barcelona like I think like twice a year, more or less, to visit her, either with on my own or with a friend or with my mum or something. So I already liked the city, but that was that. But my sister was having her first baby. And I remember as soon as I found out that she was pregnant, which I found out whilst I was actually visiting her in Barcelona, I was like, had this like intense protective feeling where I just needed to be close to her. It sounds quite intense, but it was intense.
Just to interrupt you for 1 second, I can remember this actually in the call centre days before you went on to like one of your other jobs. You had obviously been visiting your sister during these years, and I can always remember the days when you would come back from your weekends away and you're back in work. You were not happy, Benny. And you were always so sad, and you were just like, you missed your sister so much. And I remember we used to have like a little messaging thing and be like, you okay, girl? And you're just like, I miss my sister. And I always remember that, because you were just like, you were so sad whenever you returned. And it was like,
remember that, like, I don't remember those moments. I know that because me and my sister got close when I was like, well, there's 9 years between us. So we had a bigger age gap, obviously, the same age gap, but the age gap is more, let's say, prominent when you're younger. But when you start to get, like, when I got to like my late teens, like 19 or whatever, I started to, where sort of the age gap closes in a way because you're both adults, and we got closer. So yeah, so I basically used to come to see her. And then when she got pregnant, I was like, there's no way that I
gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta go. I remember I didn't ask her about it or even discuss it like necessarily with her. Like, I'm thinking about this. I remember just saying, hey, I'm gonna move to Barcelona.
Hey, girly.
Yeah. She was like, wow, okay. So it did take a little bit of a time because my sister was having her baby and going back to the UK and blah, blah, blah. So I basically ended up moving. I worked the last day of my job, I think on a Thursday or a Friday in the UK.
Remember it well.
Oh, I do.
We won't get into that story, but it was a sad day, because it was like,
sad, yeah.
I felt so sad at that time personally, because I knew you were moving, and I actually can remember you telling me the day that we were moving. We were in a Nando's. Do you remember that?
No.
You announced it to me at a Nando's, and I was obviously happy for you, but I was also heartbroken. I was like, she's leaving the country.
Yeah.
And so obviously knowing it was like your last day in that job was just knowing it was closer to the time that you were leaving. But
honestly, I remember the last like month or two of being in Cardiff, because at that point I was like preparing to go. And I remember it being very emotional. Like, I felt very emotional all the time, like going to work, hanging out with any of my friends or people that were in my life. And I remember just being like, whoa, it's about to change.
It's intense though, isn't it? Like, if just speaking to the general point of choosing to move, like whatever your reason is,
yeah,
it's sometimes not a very quick, easy decision. Some people don't have to even think about it, and it's like whatever, but ultimately it's still a huge part of your life that you're leaving. Not that you don't necessarily come back to it or you don't forget about those moments, but like, it is this new chapter feeling, isn't it? Of
Yeah.
like the unknown and not knowing what you're going to do, you know?
Yeah, like for me, it was an easy decision to make. Like there was no doubt in my mind when I was considering it. But then actually, you know, when you're going through the stages of preparing to go and obviously when you actually move, it is very intense. I had quite a fast turnaround. Like I finished my job on like the Thursday or Friday, moved on the weekend, and then started my new job in Barcelona on the Monday. So it was like I literally had 2 days off where I worked. And this is very on brand for me, like the way I
You just went
life.
balls to the wall, basically. Yeah.
So
I remember packing boxes with you.
yeah,
In
I
your
had
flat.
a lot of stuff. So me and
You
my
did.
friend actually moved. I got my friend to move with me. I don't know how I convinced her to do that, but we basically had a van of stuff that arrived, I think, a few days later. And it was late, which I remember was like one of the first introductions to like true Spanish life is like nothing's really ever on time and you can't really rely on any services. So
blasé.
yeah. And that was like I'd say one of the biggest changes in like, you know,
It's like the speed of life almost, isn't it? Like, it's very much more Spanish way of life. I find is just a bit more relaxed. They just chill. They're not. Maybe it's a positive thing. Like UK people can be a bit strung up and everything's a bit stressful and everyone's a bit like, especially when you're in a city, it's a bit go go go. But even considering you live in one of the biggest Spanish cities, it's still very just laid back almost.
It is. And that was one of the things I remember in my first weeks of being here. And this sounds very dramatic, but it's true. I was walking down the street and I remember realizing that I was like walking faster than other people. And I remember being like, well, this is like, it's a real thing. Like people are just not in a rush. And I realized that, for example, in the UK, people are always in a rush, even if they don't need to be somewhere by a certain time, like they're always in a rush.
True.
I realized how much people, including me, would get stressed over just like unnecessary things. And I still notice that when I go back to the UK, like no shade, but also a bit of shade. Like
you shade away, girl.
Yeah, no, I just noticed that like people just get stressed and like hung up on so many things. And actually it's one of the reasons that I stayed in Barcelona, not against the UK, but more so because of the positive of Barcelona, is that I sensed in myself and I felt in myself that I became much more laid back. Like actually I gained some like patience, which I'm not the most patient person in the world, but I used to be actually.
Kind of test.
Yeah.
No shade.
But I actually used to be much more impatient and much more like, I don't know, just stressed. And now I'm just.
You were so young back then, though, as well. In fairness, like I think it takes, and throughout your entire 20s in general, even when you do or don't do a big move at that point in your life, like you're gonna be like that, aren't you? Like I'm sure we can all relate to some version of that in our younger years. Because how old are you when you left Cardiff?
I was 25.
25.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good going.
And now I'm 33.
Wow. You're going to be coming up to 10 years in Spain before long?
Yeah, I've just passed my 8 years in April, which is crazy.
If you could think about year 1 to year 8, what kind of, if you could give us a few words to summarize that journey, like what stands out to you when you think about the then and the now?
It's like day and night.
Yeah.
Like, you know this. But yeah, so my first years, first of all, I was 25. I used to go out and like drink and party and stuff. And I think that's also a very British culture thing. Do
you know what we interject with, just quickly, talking of all the drinking here? I have to say, I think I've had some of my drunkest nights with you here in Barcelona.
Yeah.
We got to give the people what they want to hear.
Yeah, no.
Sprinkling a few
it's
stories.
Been intense.
I mean, I won't go into full detail of every single one because it's a bit embarrassing, but there's something about the Spanish partying. Oh, cheeky, what you doing, Houdini?
Sorry, Houdini's a rebel.
We got to keep an eye on him. What's he up to? He's fine. He's just been a little naughty. He's like, I want the attention.
He's trying to knock my cactus over in the background.
Come on.
And he's never done that before. Houdini, come.
Oh. Naughty boy.
I'll deal with that after.
Well, welcome back.
Sorry about that.
We had a little intermission, that's fine. We were just talking about, I was going to just kind of interject with just a few funny stories about bloody some of the nights out I've had here in Spain, because, yeah, the drink measurements here are a bit wild in comparison to the UK.
Yeah.
Just many messy nights of very large vodka and Fanta lemons, someone crying in a car, but also having a great time. And I don't know, there's just a lot of like hazy memories for me of drinking here, but also fun times. But you obviously were in your period of life then, as were most of us at that time, of just like, we're just going to go out. And I can imagine, obviously, being at 25 and you're coming to a new city, it's a part of the experience, isn't it? Like, you're exploring.
I had a great time. Like my first years, there was a lot of like going out and stuff, because also that's pretty much what me and all my friends from here were doing. And I worked in like a big office where there were about 80 to 100 people, all in one office, all on one floor. So we were very close. And like we'd finish work. It's a very local, like Barcelona style thing to just leave from the office and go straight to like the nearest little bar and just drink beers. And I think that's the first time in my life I drunk beer. And everyone drinks beers. I've been drinking beers in Barcelona for the last 8 years.
She's a beer girly.
Not a lot, but like, enjoying the beers. So that was like my world back then. There was a lot of social stuff, not like tons and tons of drinking, but just like very sociable. A lot of like festivals, day festivals. Like there's a lot going on in Barcelona. They don't ever stop.
It's an active city, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, the Spanish are known for like the fiesta and the party, and it goes, doesn't it, with the city?
Yeah. I have my sister here as well, obviously. Back then her first baby was born, so we had, I had family time as well, always. That didn't really change throughout my whole journey, and that's super important to me. I think that's one of the things that makes Barcelona so special to me, is like having that closeness.
Do you think, quick sort of side question here, if your family wasn't already here, do you think you would have made a move like that?
Yeah, I'm sort of like this anyway, right? Like, I say now that, even now, and obviously I'm a bit older, just a little bit. I say now,
granny.
Oh God, you're catching up.
You're 1 year older than me, and I always like to tease you because I'm like, I'm so young and
she mocks me, and then I'm like, you're 33 soon.
I'm feeling the aging. Okay, we're in. Yeah. Anyway, back to it.
So that was one thing that was consistent. I think I would have moved somewhere, and I always say now that I would go anywhere in the world for the right reason. Now, even. So things happen and I'm open to it. But yeah, I moved, and then that was the first few years, which was just like a bit more sociable. I met some of my very good friends like at the very start of my journey, which is great, and it's made it.
And you're still friends now?
Yeah, like my close friends in Barcelona have been my close friends since day one, pretty much. And we're really lucky to have each other, because you need like, one of the things about moving is, even if you have like your long distance friendships and like your families and stuff, obviously I had my sister and my like her mini family here, you still like you miss like the real support system, or part of your support system, let's say. And those people, like those friends, become like family. Like they
I was going to talk about this a bit today. Like, I do think one of the biggest challenges when you're moving, I mean, even if you're just going to uni and you're just not even going that far away, like a big part of your 20s and exploring and adventuring is meeting all sorts of new people, and like the friendship aspect of it. And even as someone, I've moved to Manchester and I've been there about 2 years now, and I still don't think I've like got it down to what I want it to be. Not that I really know what it wants to be, but like, it is hard. Like, making friends in new cities is a difficult thing at any given time. So like, you're very fortunate, A, if you can make really good bonds when you go somewhere new, and B, if you can hang on to some strong bonds from back home or wherever, that's even greater, because it's like such a challenge to navigate on your own anyway, being in a new city, let alone trying to like find people who align with you. And I think that is probably a big challenge that a lot of people can relate to, because you're almost trying to find like your new community of people, of whether it's through like a hobby or whether it is just exploring a new city. But the positive thing is that there's what I find personally in cities, and I kind of felt this when I went to Manchester, is that there's always people in the same boat. Especially, it's like cities are just, they attract younger, shall we say, I don't want to sound shady, but like ambitious people who are looking for some kind of adventure. And I think it's quite nice to find equals like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think your point about cities is a good one, because I think there's also a flip side where it's a lot harder than you would think it would be. So in Barcelona, a lot of people struggle with this. And I sort of started to struggle with this around the middle part of my journey, I think, which is like loneliness.
Oh, very real.
I
Very
remember
real.
speaking to you about this like years ago, and I've never been someone that doesn't have like someone I can speak to. I'm very lucky in that sense, and I'm very grateful that I have like family and friends that I can go to if I need to speak.
And you're very sociable generally.
Yeah, but even with that, like I think something that's often misunderstood is like the fact that people who have connections and people, real true connections as well, can still be lonely. And
Absolutely.
it's quite prevalent in this city. Like I hear it from a lot of people who've been around long enough, or at least been here for a couple of years, where it's like this big sociable city. Barcelona is like a huge expat community, and like people struggle to find connections and to like, you know, to feel like they have like a real, like to settle and to feel stable and all of this stuff. And a lot of people go through that and they don't really talk about it. And there's so many social groups, there's so many, like there's everything. There's like language exchange, there's obviously always events, markets, everything. There's people everywhere, but people still struggle to connect with each other. So that was probably like the middle of my journey. Like we got to around COVID times, which was crazy.
Oh my God. Cheeky little plug. I'll put the link in the bio.
Oh my God. Oh God.
Back in 2020, when we were just in our houses losing our minds thinking, what do we do? Me being Miss Creative online, I was like, I'm going to do vlogs because I was bored. So I was like, let's do like a fun little vlog of it. And actually, I'm kind of so glad I did it, because what a documented time in history of like when hopefully never going to experience this ever again. And it was obviously such a unique time to be living in. So I was just doing silly little vlogs like in Wales and like, oh, here's what's happening, and oh, there's like queues in shops and we have to wear masks and blah blah blah. And I obviously thought it would be interesting to get your perspective, because obviously with COVID and all the rules it was slightly different depending on where you were. And there is a little vlog that is, you can watch it in the bio. It was a little mini series, a 4-part series, and you very kindly provided me with a little documentation.
Yeah,
that was a fun time.
Oh my gosh. Like I mean, I won't go into it too much because there's a whole video on it that you can watch, but it was quite strict, the lockdown in Spain. And so that's what we
the UK were like doing nothing and just letting people die in care homes. And it was like,
oh my God,
Spain had it on lock. They were like, curfews, you're not going out.
It was bananas. Like literally, I actually went to live with my sister, because me and my sister, I never lived with her like in Barcelona. I always had like, you know, separate, like my own space. But because of the lockdown, because we weren't even allowed to go out onto the street, like even it was just super strict here. So I went to live with her, I think after the first week or something of lockdown. I was like, right, I'm going, because otherwise I'm never going to see her. And my sister was also pregnant at that time, quite heavily pregnant. And so, yeah, it was crazy.
It was a crazy time.
So that was like the middle of my journey. And then now it's a huge contrast. So from the start to now, first of all, I'm 33, as I've said many times. So I don't know why I'm celebrating it. But do you know what? 30s, my 30th year was the worst year of my life.
The way that I know everyone in my life says, I actually quite enjoy my 30s, but I know a lot of other people who are like, the 30s was rough.
Yeah. And I remember coming for your 30th and saying to you,
that was great.
It's going to be a rough time. Like, don't feel happy. But my sister always says to me, like, the 30s are the best years of your life.
They are. And I do think that.
Now I understand why that is. Even though I had a rough start, like, and that's just because of some life stuff that happened. Like, I lost my dog, and he was like my like soul dog, and I struggled really hard with it, and just some other stuff was going down. So I had a bad time. I was
bad omen was in the air.
Yeah, but like that also, when you enter in your 30s, like it's such a pivotal moment in your life, and you enter like a whole new phase.
You do.
It
sounds a bit corny, but you really do have like this rebirth.
Yeah.
It's because I guess you just know yourself obviously so much better by then. And I've spoken about this a lot on the pod, and me and Liam actually did like a whole episode on like navigating your 20s and 30s. And it's a similar sentiment of like, I think you just start giving less of a fuck is the truth. Like, of course we still have our worries and our woes and our insecurities and X, Y, and Z. But like, I think you probably spend so much of your 20s so lost, confused, trying to navigate it all, that by the time you hit 30, I think you just reach a tolerance point where you're like, I actually just don't care anymore. Like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And you just find a bit of a newfound confidence in yourself. And that kind of nicely links into my personal journey of like moving away. And that would like tie quite nicely with like feeling ready to do this just big change. Because, you know, like my story for ages, I was always in Wales all my life. And I, for the longest time, was wanting to do something different, push the boundaries. And I was a bit lost on like where to go, what to do.
You were trying to work it out, weren't you, for a while? Like over the probably 2 years at least.
A long time, yeah.
Maybe 2, even 3 years before you actually moved. You were coming out with like I
was going to live in Spain at one point. I considered Valencia, but
you looked at Barcelona, which like that was a short-lived idea, and then Valencia. But you were like looking at a few options.
I
moving
was
from one to the next.
I have got to say, you genuinely served as a real inspiration. When I saw you make your, it was nice. When you made your move, it was like just knowing you before that, and then seeing you go on, and you're just like having a great old time. It was like, look at it go. And I obviously felt so proud of you. And I think there was a part of me that had probably deep down always wanted to do that. But I didn't necessarily have the confidence or the readiness back then to figure out what it was I wanted to do. So I think that's why I was flitting so much on like, oh, do I try Spain? And I think I realised for me that it was a little bit too far away from my family, because I don't think I would have dealt very well with that. But I figured out like a potential for London at one point, and then that was just too expensive. So Reading. I'm sorry to the Reading people out there. I'm going to have to shade you, but Reading is a shithole. You lived in Reading, though, funny enough. It is not a fun... It's just not... I went to some awful flats.
But it's not because it's a great city. I was 19. I moved... It was actually my first time that I...
Well, moving away
when I moved away from home, I didn't just move out and into Cardiff. I moved out of my house in Cardiff with my mum and to Reading with a job, basically. And I actually, again... took 2 of my friends. Come on.
Just picking them up like a collection. Come with me.
Yeah. So
it's a great location though for being in London and stuff.
But I was 19. I remember saying to you, because you were like trying to get an understanding of the place, and I was like, the thing is, my experience there, I had a great time, but I was 19 years old and I was just living the life.
Oh God.
I didn't care. And
I'm
also
so glad
like
I didn't go.
quality is not so important at that age. Like you don't now I would never.
No, let me tell you, I went to some dives. My parents, God bless, I don't think they were keen on this idea initially, and I was being all naive, like, it'll be great, I'm going to go to London. And then I booked like 3 viewings, and we went up for the day, and these flats were horrendous. Like, and you got to understand, obviously, the budget that you're working with, and the like prices towards London, the houses are extortionate, and anything like south of the country is a complete rip-off. So I didn't have a giant budget to work with, but I was like, I could get like a 1-bed flat, it'll be fine.
Oh, no.
And these, they were just the dusty, mustiest things ever. And my mum was horrified. Poor Shez. She just was horrified at the thought of me potentially living there. Yeah. She's like, I can't go to these places. You can't be doing this, Meg. And there was one flat at the end of the day which Sammy felt like, oh, this is possible. But it was actually just one of those stupid, what do they call them? You know, when you convert something, like a conversion type apartment, but it was really weird, and it was in this really dodgy street, and there was just like rubbish all over.
Yeah.
And came home from that trip thinking, oh, maybe I had to rethink.
Oh, but bless you. You were just trying to find.
I know, it was so hard.
You wanted to go, but you just didn't know where.
And funny enough, this was a point in my journey where I really was at a bit of a loss, where I was like, I think I just have to rethink this whole thing. I don't know if this is possible. I think I'm just going to have to accept a life in Wales for the rest of my life. And this isn't any shade to Wales, because it's my hometown, and I'm sure you can relate. Like, we love it for various reasons. Our family are connected to it. But like, I've always felt a little bit, having spent most of my life there, that it is truthfully a bit behind like other bigger cities in the UK. And I think when you're someone who's looking for a bit more adventure or a bigger city, when you've obviously lived in Cardiff, which is the capital of the country, like, it's a great city, but it's quite small. And there's only so much of that you can see, because I was there for like 10 years, and I think there was just this burning feeling of like, there has to be more. And so I felt a little bit dishevelled when I came back from Reading, because I thought, well, that hasn't gone to plan, and I really don't want to stay in Cardiff, if I'm honest, and I don't know what to do next. And funny enough, it was like this random girl I watched on YouTube that just inspired me one day, because she was like a vlogger and she lived in Manchester. And I never in my life had ever considered Manchester, because I hadn't even visited there. And I thought, I'm just going to have a nose on Rightmove just out of curiosity, because I know it's a pretty big city.
I remember this.
Yeah. And I was just kind of surprised at how much availability was there just in terms of flats. And there was a lot in my range for what I was looking for. And I thought, I want to take a cheeky little trip to Manchester. And then I went up there, and it genuinely like changed my life. I was like, this city's great.
Yeah.
I was like on a tram.
It clicked, didn't it, straight away? I remember you went and you were like, no, this is it. Like there was no going back.
Yeah. I was just sold from the off, and purely from the tram system, if I'm so honest. It was like, I can get around easy. It's great.
But I do remember, you know, the moment you went to Manchester.
The Manchester Diaries.
Yeah, like the moment you went to Manchester, like when you first discovered it, it was like, that's the place.
It was like a light bulb moment where it was like, it was just something that clicked in that moment where I was like, okay, this feels right. And there's a lot of boxes being ticked here. And honestly, more than anything, I know it sounds a bit like practical reasoning, but it was just a place that I could afford as well.
Yeah.
And it was also matching like the city vibes that I wanted. And like the people up north are just like quite friendly as well, compared to like, no offense, people down in south in London and stuff. And I was just like, there's a little bit of similarity in personalities with northern people and Welsh people. So I think there was some familiarity there for me. So that was kind of the click moment, but it took us a while to get there. And I think that's what I would just like to say to people is like, if you're struggling and you're looking for something, or you don't know what to do with your life, and this can even just apply to any part of your life, whether it's a job, a career, like, I think you've got to give yourself the grace and the patience to like take your time to figure it out, because it won't always happen immediately for some people. I feel like your example, because you had such a close connection with your sister here, I would probably say that like yours was a pretty quick, easy decision, in the sense that like you knew that's what you wanted. You kind of had a support system here already. And then obviously for some other people, it might not be quite as like linear as that. So there's always going to be different paths and stories of where you may or may not go. But I think you just have to give yourself like the grace sometimes to figure it out, even if it takes you 3 years to figure it out.
Do you know what? Like I also like, I'm very patriotic. I'm very
Welsh till I die.
Yeah, like
the rugby games of it all.
Yeah. No, that's one of our bonds is like Welsh rugby.
Dan Bigger. No.
Oh, we can't. I've got a not safe for workplace chant.
We love Dan Bigger, basically, is the polite version of it.
Yeah, we do. We love Dan Bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, what a man.
He is.
So yeah, like I'm very patriotic. I mean, we're both very patriotic.
We are.
And I think that's like, that doesn't have to, like, you don't have to
lose that.
And I think sometimes people think, if I'm going to move away, like, oh, but I love my country, whatever. It can, those two things can exist. Like, I rarely go back to Wales because I don't have much family left there.
You only really ever came back to visit me occasionally and some of your friends, isn't it, when we were there?
My family, obviously. Like my nan, my brother, and my dad. My nan passed away. And I think because I was making an effort to go back to see her, because she was obviously a bit older, I just don't go back that much. But I'm very proud to be Welsh. And I think that's one thing, is you don't have to, you know, it's not like you're leaving your home country and like losing that. And also one thing I'd say is, you can leave a place whilst you're still happy. Like, you don't have to leave because you have like a bad relationship with a place. Like, I think that's something that a lot of people get like misunderstand, is, you know, leaving a place and moving on whilst you still have a good relationship with that place is also fine. And it does just, it opens your eyes to a different world and a different part of life. So I think I would always recommend it, even if it's a temporary move.
Yeah.
And if it's a short move also, like, you know, not far in distance.
I think it's just good for your personal growth, and just also, I think it's nice to see diversity in other parts and people's cultures. Like, the one thing I always found a little bit difficult about sometimes being in Wales, and this isn't like any shade to everyone there, but like, it is natural, and this actually isn't even just a Wales thing. Like, if you think about perhaps people who live in more rural places or little villages or smaller towns, sometimes when you stay there like your whole life, you don't see a lot else of the world. And I personally think that's a shame, because I think there's so much life and people and cultures for you to explore in this lifetime, no matter where you are. And even if that is just through travel or whether you actually physically move somewhere, I guess I was always someone who never didn't, what am I trying to say? Like, I always felt curious to like see more. And I think a lot of that came from probably my upbringing and my family, like always taking us on nice holidays and travels. And I think when you experience that when you're younger, you probably got a bit of a yearning for it. It's like, oh, I can go explore here now. And it's like, I think it's such a positive, wonderful thing for people to be able to do, to immerse yourself in like a different place's culture. And I guess, you know, for some people, maybe even for practical reasons, they might not be able to physically move for costs or family, you know, commitments. But like, I always think, like you said, even if it's temporary, and you're sat here right now and you're like questioning, do I, don't I say, do it.
Do it.
Just go for it. What have you got to lose? Like, life is so short. And you know what? Even if it all goes tits up, I said this to myself when I went to Manchester. I was like, look, this is a slightly terrifying moment for me because it's a really big move away from my family. And I've got my own personal background, which I've spoken about on the pod before, about struggling when I was a lot younger to move away from home and homesickness and all of it. And I was like, oh, what if that all happens again? Like, I was terrified for that failure again. But I think there was a part of me that just said, do you know what? You just have to do it, because even if it is a complete failure, what's actually the worst going to happen? You're going to be able to fix it, and you can just move back if you want to. Like, it's actually not a big deal at the end of the day.
Nothing in life is permanent.
It's not.
It's one
it's
of my
literally
mottos. Nothing in life is permanent. You could do whatever you want. And I mean, I've done some things which have probably been questionable, but like, it's because I do think like that. Like, just try, or just do it, and you can go back.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Do you know what? I realize that some people like might have less support from like family or friends. I feel like I'm very lucky in that sense that like my mum will, like, she's used to, like, I've got 3 siblings and 2 of them are like in different places around the world, and then my brother is
you're like
in
an
my
international
hometown.
family, you are.
Yeah, so my mum has always just been like, okay, like, go and do it, and I'm super grateful for that, because I think that's something that also can hold some people back, is because they really need like the green light from family or friends, and I think that stops a lot of people.
And I'm going to be really candid, and I could probably relate to that a little bit. I know Mem's going to be listening to this. Hiya, Shares. And actually, she knows this, and we've spoken about this, and I think it's fair to say that my mum, maybe more so, my dad was a little bit different, but like, my mum definitely struggled when I said I wanted to leave Wales. And it is a really hard thing when you're a close family as well. And it's natural for any parent to be sad that their child wanted to move further away. And it wasn't for any like horrible reason or whatever. But I really did actually struggle with that for a minute, because I was I don't know if I was searching for some approval, or I think it's probably the empath in us of like, my mum's going to be sad that I'm leaving, and I know that. And you don't want them to be sad. So that's probably why you're like holding back a bit. But like, the truth is, in this life, not to be like selfish, but you kind of do need to be selfish.
I was going to say, that's another one of my
mean?
mottos, is like, I encourage people when they're in moments where they're trying to decide what to do or how to handle something. I often find myself saying like, you've got to be selfish right now, because this is actually your life. Like, and I'm
only
also
you can
very
live
close to my family, and like, and my mum's also, when we've talked about like Australia and different parts of the world, not that I'm interested in going there, but she said like, oh, if you moved there, or if any of like, you know, she'd be devastated. And it does pull on your heartstrings.
It does,
but the bottom line is like, you've got
to care though, isn't it?
You care, and it's it's for the right reasons that they don't want you to, and it comes from a good place. But I think you do have to find the balance and like really understand what it is you want to do, and put yourself first. At the end,
I agree, and
because that's really what they probably want for you to do anyway.
Of course,
right? It's just that their own feelings play into it.
It's always natural that like people are going to feel certain ways, and you have to adapt to it. And naturally as well, parents are always going to find that hard because you're always their baby, you know, like they never want you to leave the nest. But it's just part of life, isn't it? And adulthood, for some, that might be going much further afield. And for some, maybe they don't care. Maybe they will stay closer and that's fine. But I think you've just got to find, like, it's hard to do, but I just think within yourself, you've really got to find this sort of determination and confidence that, like, no, I'm going to do this for me. And if it does go wrong, then it's on me and that's okay. Yeah. As long as you're not, like, impacting someone's life. Like, I get that, like, you know, you don't want to necessarily put someone out financially if perhaps someone was supporting you and it caused, like, I just think you kind of got to take ownership of like, right, this is what I'm choosing to do. I'm a grown adult. If it all goes wrong, it's on me and that's fine. And they'll be there to support if that's the case. Do you know what I mean? So you got to just have this leap of faith, I think.
Yeah.
And in fairness, for some people, that can take a long time to get to, myself included, because in fairness to you, 25 is still a pretty young age to be confident and ready to not only move somewhere out of the UK, but across another country, which is a even bigger thing. And it took me to, like, how old was I? Like 30? Yeah, my 30s pretty much when I moved to Manchester. And I really don't think I would have been ready before that point.
Yeah.
So everyone's, like, got their own timeline, haven't they, for this kind of stuff, if that's what you choose to do. So this is all sounding a bit, like, philosophical, but you just got to, like, trust your gut. And just, if you feel the draw to do something, just do it.
Just do it.
Just bloody do it.
Yeah.
And there you have it, gang. That was your part 1 with Josie for this week. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and listening. I hope you are excited for next week's round 2, where we get into just a continuation of the topic we spoke about, but also we've got some hot topics, some hot or not. We do like a silly little game thing. So if you enjoyed our little conversation, please make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all of the above. Anything that I've mentioned that I may have referenced will be in the bios below. I really can't do this podcast without your support, so thank you very much for still listening if you're part of the gang. And please do keep sharing things to your Insta stories, word of mouth, sharing the profile. Anytime you see the clips that I upload, please just share and follow, because that helps bring people in. So thank you again. I look forward to seeing you next week, and have a marvellous rest of your day. Bye!